tying up another wet fly from Ray Bergman's book, Trout. This is the Lister's Gold. Interesting little fly in that the body on this is half tinsel and half wool, a claret wool. It has a nice, handsome little guineafowl wing on this and a nice bright tail and throat. Fun little fly, some interesting techniques in getting the body in and the back half of the tinsel and the wool on that body. So that's the Lister's Gold, and I'll get started tying. I'm going to start the Lister's Gold with my hook and the vise. This is a Mustad 3399 in a size 6. I'm going to debarb the hook. I'm going to attach my thread. Because there is a wool body on this, I'm going to start with a white. This is a Danville 6/0 white, so I don't darken that up. Even though half the body is gold tinsel, I don't want to darken up that wool. The tail on Lister's Gold is some yellow hackle. I'm using some goose shoulder here. No, actually, this isn't goose shoulder, this is goose quill. I'm going to get about 4, maybe 5 barbs, depends on the size of the hook, off of this, that wide. I want to even up the tips on that. And then I'm going to tie that in about a shank length long. Trim away the excess, trim that the length of the body. There's our tail. Now, I'm using 2 different tinsels on this fly. The back half of the body is a gold tinsel and the ribbing is a gold tinsel. For the ribbing, I'm going to use a Danville Mylar silver and gold tinsel in a size 16 and 18, because for this size hook, if I use the 14, which is what I'm going to use for the back half of this, then it just takes up too much of the body. It doesn't quite look right for me. So I'm using the Danville size 14 for the back half. Tie that in. I want the silver side up. That way, as I apply it, it'll flip over to the gold side. Advance my thread forward to the halfway point of the hook shank. Now, even if we go forward just a little bit, when I put in the wool, I can wrap it back to exactly that center point, and that's where I start to apply it. This will flip over to the gold side, and now I'll apply the tinsel on the back half. If I use that 16 and 18 tinsel, it's awfully thin, and it's probably more an issue of my eyesight. I have a more difficult time getting the edge-to-edge wraps or even a little bit of overlap on that, and I end up with a little bit of gaps in there. So I decided to go with a little bit larger tinsel just to make that a little easier on myself. So now I'm going to tie in the 16 and 18, which is the rib. And then I'm going to tie in the wool. It's a claret wool, and I'm just using some wool yarn in a claret color. This is just a 2-strand yarn, so I'm just going to go ahead and use both of those. I'll tie this in just a little bit long because then I can trim this back so it's just the length of the body. Advance my thread forward. I will end up just about an eye length behind the eye of the hook. I'll put in the body. And see, this is where I could wrap down on that just a little bit, and I'm right about at the halfway spot. So my first wrap, I'm just going to come down just a little bit, make certain that any thread is covered up, and then wrap forward to my thread. This wool has some long fibers that will come out of it. I'm just going to trim them back a little bit right now, more or less for the look. It just looks a little cleaner. And now I'll apply the rib. I'm only going to get about 3 wraps of this in, so you can see where if I use that wider size 14, I really would just kind of be filling it up. Securing that rib in there. Bring my thread forward and I'll change over to my finishing thread. This is a Danville 6/0 in black. The throat on the Lister's Gold is some yellow Schlappen. It's a yellow Hackle. I'm just using some Schlappen on this. I'm going to tie that in with the tips just inside the throat of the hook. Trim away the excess. The wing on this is just some guinea. So this is just some guinea feather here. I've already got my slips cut out. I'll match those up. I want to get the tips even first, and then I want to see that I have the same width on both of them. Guinea doesn't slide as well. A lot of times when you're working with this, your goose and your duck will kind of slide over each other a little bit, but the guinea's a little bit more finicky. There we go. Fortunately, these are the same width. I tie these in so that the tips are of that wing is about halfway down the tail. Get that secured in. And that one didn't come down quite as clean as I like. So we shall unwrap that and try it again. You can usually get 2 or 3 attempts at tying these wings in. And if it doesn't, sometimes even just the slips or something about them, they're a little difficult. So don't hesitate to just pitch these and get you a couple more slips. It's not going in the way you want. That's a little bit better. Again, he does that for some reason. On a lot of those, that top one will kind of peel off. And remember, this fly is only going to look this nice right here. Maybe when you tie it on your leader. As soon as you start fishing it, it'll never look this good again. So, thread down to the eye of the hook. I'm going to start wrapping rearward, shaping the head, covering up any butt ends. Flatten my thread and put in 8 or 9 turn whip finish. And I'll put a drop of head cement on there. To secure that, and then I'll come back with some black lacquer. Now, one thing I just noticed I had mentioned about using that white tinsel, I actually did get a gap right here, and I think what happened is as I wrapped the back around here and that next one, it slid forward on me and I didn't catch that. And it could also be that in tying it, yeah, it's a little bit loose and that tinsel actually slid backwards. That's interesting. I didn't get that in tight enough. So, lesson right there, folks. Make certain you're getting those in tight enough. Another thing about this is notice that the wing on this, the tips are kind of, they look separated. And actually, on one side of these guinea feathers, the tips of these hackles, there's no barbules, so they do kind of separate. Now, the other side of this feather, it doesn't. So it's a little more solid. If you like that look a little bit more, then go with that one, or you can stick with this one. I just like the markings on this one a little bit better, but I have tied with both, so. So that is the Lister's Gold. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. But what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.